Welcome to 221B Baker Street by way of the Southgate Bridge. I am Sherlock Holmes. Actually, I'm your host, Zachary Hare. Watson is still on assignment, but with me is everyone's newest favorite addition, everyone's favorite irregular, Karen Vera.
Hello, Zach. Remember,
Hello.
I'm but not in hibernation for winter.
Indeed. In this week, we were talking about the episode Alma Matters. They are loving their puns this season.
They are. You're right.
I mean, they usually have certain titles, but I swear it's like this season it's more than usual.
Yeah, I think something's brewing in season 4, right? Where there's a little bit more fire under the writing team belly. So I am relishing what's going to happen as this Moreland storyline.
Oh yes. Well, let's talk about with Moreland this week.
Yes. So let's get to it. I mean, they start the show off, right?
Oh, yeah. And it appears that, and we'll talk about more as we go on, but it seems like every theory I had was wrong.
Was right or wrong? I didn't hear you.
Wrong. Every single... Well, maybe. And we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So, Sherlock obviously goes to see Moreland and tells him, everything. We know about the assassination attempt and coming here, you put us in danger, that sort of thing.
What do you think of Moreland's digs?
Oh, they're stunning, of course.
Yeah, it's like the stark contrast to the brownstone, right? Where it's very classical and marbly and when you pan to the brownstone, it's a bit run down. So I think that has some kind of symbolism. I'm sure that the production.
Oh, I'm sure the contrast is very intentional.
Yes.
Between the brownstone and that. So, well, it's also an allusion to that. I mean, obviously Moreland's staying there, but that's not his home.
I couldn't tell because he has an office there, and it looks like
Well, I mean, the brownstone for Sherlock is his permanent residence. That's what I mean.
Yes. Oh, I mean for Sherlock. Yes. I meant for.
Because the brownstone is where Sherlock lives. That's his permanent place to live. Moreland is the kind of guy, especially because of his work,
yes,
can live in a place 6 months, then live in another. There is no. I mean, I'm guessing he does have a home in London, but he doesn't have a home. You could call that's his, as he says, it's the sanctum sanctorum, the brownstone.
Yeah. And just a short diversion here. I'm told I read a story by the production designers of Elementary that Sherlock doesn't have a bedroom in the brownstone. He doesn't have a bedroom because it's like part of his establishment that he's an unsettled character, that he doesn't need sleep. So I
have thought about that. I have noticed that. And whenever he has sex, he has it in the
sex blanket.
Room with
Yep.
Which we haven't seen in a while.
I'm sure he got some good use this episode.
Oh, well, if it's still in one piece after this episode. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So, he confronts and Moreland tells them about, it is true, there was an attempt, but that it's settled, that no one needs to worry. I like how Moreland almost seems surprised that they figured out. It's like between Watson and Holmes, one of them would have figured it out.
Yes, he knows his son is super smart. So, I think that's why this performance of John Noble has so many layers and a bit of mystery, because either he is throwing Sherlock and Watson a bone, say look, I'm leaving some breadcrumbs for you to figure out something, because, I can expect Moreland to have a large agenda.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Or it's something that's quite sincere and he's thrown off course, and, he's genuinely surprised that his kid and his detecting partner have figured something out. But in any case,
it could be like he has a blind spot when it comes to his son.
For sure. Even Sherlock.
Because I'm sure whenever you have a parent that's when you're a parent, your kid's like something special, you still see them as your kid.
I'm sure, yes, even in the very complicated relationship of Sherlock and Moreland still sees Sherlock as a kid. And later, as seen in the honey scene, Sherlock still sees his dad as his dad, but we'll get to that later in the conversation.
What a waste of honey.
That's so hilarious. But yes, so Sherlock says, I know what you're up to, and this attempt on your life. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you, put me and Watson potentially in danger, right? So he's upset about that.
Indeed, and like moral and assurancement's all set. I like how Sherlock just goes, "You're lying," and walks away.
Yes. Guys, Johnny Lee Miller is on fire this episode. They've given him so much meat to work with, and he took it and scored a grand slam. So he's just fantastic in this episode.
Mm.
Every facial tick, every eyebrow raise, every sparkle in the eye, it's also on so visible and put to forth in this episode. It's amazing.
Yes, and so we see we see one crime happening in the next scene, but what's interesting, and they do this a lot in the show, and I like it, they always handle it well, we see one crime in a way connects to another.
Yep. That happened in an episode, remember when there was a street back alley robbery, but the real crime was...
that was s4e10.
Yes.
I like that one.
Yep.
I love the reveal of that episode. She's like, yeah, that she shot, and they all go, wait, she?
Yes. So this robbery is, the main mystery. Well, the robbery, what the robber witnessed is the main mystery of the episode, which is somebody is shot in their apartment. And, it cuts to 2 weeks later in the next scene, because I'm sure Sherlock wasn't involved, and Sherlock and Watson weren't involved in needing to solve that. So we come into the next scene, the brownstone.
Well, what's interesting, it's 2 weeks because, obviously, at the time, they said it was a run-of-the-mill breaking and entering, so Sherlock was never called.
Nope. Yes, he was. And it wasn't their district, right? Or precinct.
Yeah, that's another one. He wouldn't be, I mean, while he might have heard about it, he would be, like, distracted. That could be another reason why they're going to say he was distracted, because he came into his father's case. And speaking about his case, he comes into the brownstone a little bit up.
And, and Watson comes upon him and says, we've been trying to get in touch with you, but, oh, wait, you're injured. What happened? And yes, he tells Watson, I've been looking into, my sources to find out about the attempt on his father's life. And it got a little more involved than Watson first assumes.
Yeah, apparently it's the mercenary woman who just likes it really, really rough.
He demands quid pro quo, apparently.
Yeah. I love the idea that the quid pro quo, because it's not something as disbelievable that a woman says, oh, if you have sex with me, then no. It's the fact that the woman knows she likes it so rough that she probably can't get anyone to do it, so she makes him do it.
Yeah, and knowing Sherlock, he's up for that, because he likes testing boundaries. He likes proving some ideas in his head with actual experience. I'm sure that you can spin off a little side story about the two of them over the years, and it'd be a great movie.
I think if we made movies about some of Sherlock's friends, it would be a certain kind of movie you can only watch after 11 p.m.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, come on! He once had 3 women in bed with him.
Yes,
and there was wasn't there a contortionist?
Yes, and it's the whole range. I mean, in the opening of the season 4. Opens with his 3 friends, but he's using the friends to I'm trying to recreate this crime from 1912. It's like,
forget about opening the season, the opening of the series. Remember when we first meet him? He was tied to a St. Andrew's cross.
So Sherlock is apparently it's important for his process. So let's say it keeps his process, his detecting process.
Yeah, if anyone asks, that's what I'm doing too. I like how he calls it they call it a sparring thing. Now, something it's almost missed here, but because they actually apparently the person that they get the reference for the case from was at Hemdale, Sherlock's rehab facility. Yeah. And it just kind of threw me off. Sherlock said, maybe because his head was ringing. Because Sherlock goes, I remember him, nice bloke. I'm like, when does Sherlock say that?
That's the very same idea. Sherlock, that's not what Sherlock doesn't say. Oh, he's a nice bloke. No, not. I don't know why. Maybe he has sentimental remembrances of Hemdale, but yes, it's a little weird coming from those words coming.
It's because he got beat up.
Maybe, yeah.
Actually, but we remember there was one person remember the groundskeeper?
Yes, the one who kept the letters, yes.
So, but I just thought it was interesting. So they get a reference to I believe it's a halfway house. Now, do you recognize this actress?
Of course, the Maratuni. I was, famous of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, and
Yep, the medical
seen in a
examiner.
lot of New York based shows. So,
Yep, oh yeah, I recognized her instantly. I was like, hey!
so I think that's part of the, Elementary gets accused of being the guest star did it kind of accusation. So we'll have 4 guest stars. How about that? Then you won't be able.
That's probably why they started up in like people who you might recognize.
Yes, I recognize a few, even the bit players I'm starting to recognize, and I guess it's just to throw the viewers off, or New York actors need work and Elementary's hiring. Whatever it is, it's a good agenda to have more guest stars. I mean that.
Yeah, New York isn't that far. I should try to get on Elementary.
Well, Zach, I hope you do. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, probably.
Then we can podcast and I can be like, I love this guy right here. He is excellent. So she's telling that apparently they got bought out by a college or a university, which is it's one of those for-profit colleges. So it's basically a company.
Yep.
And they started, and this is, I don't know if anyone really does something like this, but just sounds despicable, that they started recruiting people who are like ex-cons and, ex-drug people who have just hit hard times, who are trying to make things better and offer them educations. And one cripples them to death, but here's the thing, cripples them to death with no they don't even get a good education.
Yeah. So the school tries to get federal loans, which they loan to the students, and the students have a hard time completing payment, and they exploit their difficult situation that it's good for the bottom line of the university. It's really terrible. And
it's a problem I know well.
Student loans, yes, that's villain in this episode. Are student loans.
That's one thing I liked about it being the villain. I'm like, yeah, get him.
and once a 1%er is in the story, Sherlock's gonna hate them, right? That he's it's been happening over the 4 seasons. Like, he hates the super rich and he really disdains. So when he meets
especially if they're an agricultural super rich.
So when he meets the person who owns the university, it again, Sherlock goes on, spins his wheels extra hard because he really, really can't stand the greed. So, but anyway, we're still at the halfway house.
So she believes that that her friend was murdered because he was going to whistleblow on the university, and she even has a stack of papers where they're going to help build the case. So, well, first, Sherlock says he's going to go look into Agent Mueller, and because he wants to talk to him about what happened. And while he does that, Watson goes to the precinct. Apparently, Sherlock wants to remind her if she has any trouble, just bring up the fact that he deported some cheating son-in-law.
Oh my God, there's another side story segue for us, if ever writers,
That actually reminded me of Sherlock, the BBC, because when he's about Mrs. Hudson,
so the first time
he sent her husband to death row. It's like, oh, you saved your husband. No, I insured it.
Yes. The best days of BBC Sherlock was,
yes.
the early days. But we won't talk about that now.
No. So
he has a portfolio of things he wants to give to the DOE, because Dennis Hicks was the one who died in the apartment in Queens, was going to blow the whistle on the practices of Fairbridge University. And so she has this file. She's brought it to the police, but the police don't take her.
Well, she didn't bring those files to the police. I don't know but she did bring her concerns to the police. And speaking of, so from there they go to his apartment. Well, Watson goes to his apartment. I love how this cop isn't really dumb, but he's got tunnel vision. Watson's like, you didn't notice only one of the victims wasn't Russian? He's like, well, there are Russians in this neighborhood. And she's like, yes, but this was the only person on your list that wasn't Russian. That's not,
and then that, even that actor, I've seen him before in, not in lead roles, but I've recognized his face.
I looked up his IMDb. He's one of those actors. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I think because most New York cops, especially I think you're working, the big city, you're probably jaded with a lot of robbery and crime and sometimes, they think if it seems pretty apparent, they don't look any further. They have other cases to work on. So even that, I understand. And you put it right. He's not stupid. He's actually quite, because he wants
Well, yeah, because the second she brings it to attention, he goes, wait a minute, maybe what happened was they heard the shots and that's why they didn't finish robbing. Like, the second she brings it to attention, he brings a good point.
Yes, exactly. I think what the scene was trying to say is, like, the minute you give him an opening and a time to think a little bit more, he probably will connect the dots. He won't do it as fast as Sherlock and Watson at this point. But yes, but even the character moment was well played and well done. So, and he had a semi-famous enough face that he could, again, here's our multiple guest star roster, and you don't know who might have committed the crime in the end. So.
And so do you love as much as I do how stupid the robbers are?
Yes, that's
because like Belle was telling him, oh, don't worry, you're not serving the max, because apparently what's his name was saying, I'm the leader, I'm in charge of everything. It's like, good, you're getting the max sentence, you dummy.
Yeah, that was again well constructed, well played, hilarious. It showed more than what the scene was written as, and Belle is great in the interrogation room. He really is. I think that's where he's shown in this episode. So, yeah, even with the get that gun, even out of frame, you see her, okay, take your hand or your fingers off my face or something. Even that.
Well, the way he says it, he says, first, get that hand out of my face. The way he says it is great.
Yes. So we have a confirmation that, who might have, a witness who said who might have shot, Dennis Hicks, and that's the next line of pursuit for Watson in solving this crime.
But sadly, they cannot bring the sketch to Lily Cooper because she has been murdered as well.
Yes. Oh no. But so that becomes 2 murders to solve now for Watson and Sherlock.
Yes. So they start looking into the college, of course, and so Belle and Watson decide to head down to the college, or the university, I should say. Now, speaking of guest stars, of course, you recognize
Tate Donovan.
Yes.
If you need an army rich preppy type, called Tate Donovan.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I'm sure everyone thinks of, but you know what role I immediately think of when I see him? Hercules.
Oh, that one. Actually, I like Tate Donovan. I've seen him play good guys, and if you allow me this short diversion with Tate Donovan. Johnny Lee Miller. Okay, Tate Donovan, he's got game. Okay, he was engaged to Sandra Bullock, and then he was engaged to Jennifer Aniston. Johnny Lee Miller
really
was married to Angelina Jolie, so their exes can't be in the same room together.
Yikes! I did not know about that. But I knew about Johnny. I did not know about Tate.
Yes, so that's. I wonder what their off-screen conversations were like when they were acting together.
I'm really guessing they didn't bring it up. I'm really guessing Johnny and Tate weren't going, so Jennifer or Angelina, who would you pick?
So, these are the kind of, celebrity information I can bring to your podcast, Zach.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's not surprising he was with some beautiful woman. Like I said, he was Hercules.
Yes, and that show he was really great in that, Hercules. And
he was the voice.
Yes.
In the Disney.
Yep. And he's a musical actor. I actually like the actor very, very well.
Yeah. Oh yes, very much. So when they go to this place, I love how it's like, oh well, yes, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Oh, murders, that's sad. I didn't even know. Gotta go. See you. It's like, yeah, this doesn't, here are the lawyers. Yeah, this doesn't denote guilt at all.
Yep. He is that 1%er that Sherlock just knows to look extra hard on. So.
It's just so obvious when you pass it, it's like because they're so arrogant, they don't even care how guilty it makes them look. That's like, yeah, here are my lawyers.
Yep. You can even look at all my emails and my schedule. No problem. I'm going. Bye. Mm-hmm. Yes. And, the 2 lawyers just say, that's not possible. Don't worry about the DOE. We're going to handle it. And here's everything. And they probably have prepared for such inquiry into, Trader's life. So, they're
well, an interesting way to look at it could be that these, because we don't, obviously we find out later he uses someone else to do the recruiting. It could very well be, these lawyers of course know about his despicable practices with student loan debt, but they could be completely in the dark about the murders.
That's true.
They could suspect, of course, but they could actually think, yeah, take the information. He's not a murderer. He's a sycophant and a one percenter, but he's not a murderer. Go ahead, look through all you want. And on the IMDb, they're actually listed as Lawyer Josh and Lawyer Bill. That's what it actually says.
But yes, that's a great perspective there. That I think those two lawyers, they know the kind of bull that Trager pulls on the recruiting side and the how the business model of Fairbridge works, but they probably are not aware that Trager has gone to extreme measures to get what is needed or what he wants. So I think that's plausible, yes.
So they get the information and get the brush off. So from there we go to Sherlock going to see Moreland.
Yes.
And this could not feel less like a son visiting his father.
Yes, this is a crown jewel of a scene, honestly. You know, where Sherlock just, explains, it's revealed, though, just from the expression of his acting, years of heartbreak and disappointment and offense. And at the same time, a lot of people say if you get that emotionally extreme, it's a close, it's a very thin line between love and hate. So I think that kind of outrage is born out of love for his parent. He's still seeking underneath it all, a connection with his dad. So it's just I think I rewound that confrontation, 7 times since it's aired.
Yeah, he tells him about confronting Mueller, and he was confused because Mueller just acted like he was afraid of him, like he said, "I have a family, leave me alone," which just confused Sherlock. When he tells his father about this, it's like, you give him money. He should have treated me like an ally. But I like how he layers it. Like, he treated me as an enemy. Not only did he treat me as an enemy, he treated me as a threat.
Yes. So this is getting Sherlock quite upset. Yes.
And Sherlock tells him it's a reason that there's only one thing that makes sense. You believed I tried to kill you. And it's as you said, see, I think Sherlock, even with his cold theory, on some level, he did say, oh, my father, my life, it's not unpleasant, and so I'm continuing this, but then it's just thrown all the way back, because for 2 reasons. One, Sherlock is insulted, but at first I thought it was just because, because it's his father's, obviously his father thinking that he would have him killed.
Yeah.
But 2, he's insulted that he, even for a second, the father believed he would handle it so stupidly.
Yes. Yeah. So, that's even like the 17th layer that is going on in this scene. It's just amazing. Yes, there's this outrage that, you would have thought I would be a possibility in committing this attempt. And yes, why didn't, I can't believe he didn't connect the dots as well as he knows his dad could have. And all that is like cushioned by, their years, what kind of the quality of the relationship in the previous decades or, going up. So it's all brought out in this beautiful scene that reveals all that you just shared and more. So it's amazing.
Yes, indeed. So from there we go to the famous pouring out honey scene.
See, I think that scene is like if Moreland still sees his son as his, kid, and so Sherlock still sees his dad, like, Dad, I'm gonna be throwing this honey away because, it's so petty and childish of Sherlock. He's still like, oh yeah, when you go to the house, you won't maybe have honey for your tea. How about that, Dad? Pour. So it was, and the way that scene was intercut with Watson, the conversation is like they kept panning back to Johnny Lee Miller, and he's still pouring the honey. I don't know where that scene came from or how you conceive such a comedic beat, but it was sublime. It was so funny.
I swear that honey emptied faster than it should have when we cut back to it. But
so I had backup bottles of honey just in case for
Well, the thing is, as an actor, I know that when you do scenes involving, there's probably like 6 or 7 bottles of various whatever right off screen. Because I remember once I did this scene, and Ron Reynolds was there, and he had to eat a hot dog like 15
Oh my
times.
gosh. So,
Because you have to. Because when you're eating, you have to redo the scene. A lot of times they'll have when an actor has to take a bite of something for a scene, they'll have a bucket there.
so
It's true.
how many hot dogs got consumed in that scene?
Oh, a lot. I don't remember exactly how many, but they did a lot of takes for this scene.
Oh my gosh. Some production assistant had to source, can we have 17 balls of honey for these scene? Thank you very much.
Yep. Indeed. I wonder how sticky Johnny's hand got, but
his face
actually,
when he was squeezing the honey and his hands out.
Oh yeah.
It's just, Johnny was relishing this, all the scenes in this episode. He was just, gold level, 100% on fire, performance. Amazing.
Has he ever done interviews?
He does. I've seen a few. He's a bit, of course, not as uptight as Sherlock is. And he has a very British sense of humor. So, so it's quite, he's he's a lighter person. I see him in.
Oh, you have to.
He's hilarious.
I think I should get the DVDs for the past season to see the special features, see if they talk to him behind the scenes. Because I don't think I've ever seen behind the scenes footage of him, because I've never seen him out of role.
Okay, no, I have the DVDs. I want to show my support for the show by actually purchasing hard media for this, for Elementary. And yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes. There's a very nice, in the first season, he did one of those Hollywood roundtables with the other actors.
Ooh, I like those.
And, it was a good panel too. It was like the guy from Americans, William H. Macy, the guy from Rectify, and Johnny Lee Miller. And, I think they're at the same level where they're acting so beautifully, but the Emmys, kind of lazy voters, I think, or lazy nominee. They send in lazy choices because, that guy again, this guy again, I'm not excited. And in any case, he's a bit more thoughtful there, but once in a while he'll get a funny dig or a funny slide point. And then sometimes when he's on, he was on The View, and, he's a little bit more funny and outgoing there. Johnny
was on The View?
Oh, yes, twice.
Oh God.
And it was cute because, one time when, I'm sure this is not as relevant to you as it is to me, but when he was in one of those shows, they asked, Lucy Liu and Johnny Lee Miller, what impressed you about each other? And Lucy Liu said, oh, Johnny's eyes, they really are, expressive and alive. And Johnny makes this, this dismayed face that's just priceless that I wish I had a gif of. And yeah, so so Johnny is a fun character, fun British actor. He's an ultra marathoner, so he runs 100 miles, no problem.
I know about that.
Yep. So anyway, that's a diversion.
I want to see Sherlock on The View just to see them trash everyone. So they get the sketch out and they actually identify, and it turns out it was a member of the halfway house and even a student at the university.
Yes.
I love this little monologue kind of. Not really monologue, but this little speech he has about he hates deals.
Yes, that's again another acting moment in this episode. Yep. He was just relishing those words, and
he just has a picture in front of him because this is to remind me. And he's he pretty much says, "No, this is not for you. This is for me to remind me of why it's a good idea to give you a deal to find who killed her."
Yes.
He's like, "I didn't know." He's like, "No, you didn't." Oh, I love that little scene with Belle and the little girl too.
Yes, that's also well played. So
I like how her cut was a clue. That was an interesting little addition.
With the clue, sorry.
The cut on her arm was a clue.
Yes. So maybe, Watson and Sherlock, they're rubbing off on Belle at this point. So yes, that leads to some kind of they realize he has a solid alibi for not committing the second murder on Lily Cooper. So yes, that's also, and Belle and the girl had a good interaction. Well done. Well played.
Yes, and because if he says something like, "I'm sure the other person's in the same boat," because even though he liked Kelly Cooper, he doesn't really hate her murder because he can guess that the person that murdered her is in the same boat as he is. That was an interesting little because he doesn't hate the other murderer, even though she was a friend of his.
Yes, so that was also, again, it was said in a few words, but we got this wonderful idea and wonderful direction to where how the crime was committed, because these people are quite under the pressure of a bigger villain. So yes, again, well written scene. So this leads to are they going back to Trigger's off at this point?
Yes. Well, first they talk a little at the station about what they believe is going on, that the evidence might suggest that he's using, which is again a despicable thing.
Yeah.
He's using people who owe student loans to be henchmen, essentially.
So Trigger is what did they say, the luckiest bystander alive or something?
Yeah, something like that. And so Sherlock goes there and talks to him, and just like any person in this position, he just sees Sherlock as he's so bored with life, and he doesn't care that he just invites Sherlock as an adversary, and you can tell he's just so smarmy. Yeah. It's like, go on, tell me what you see.
Yeah, I haven't thrown you out yet, so just go ahead. And Sherlock has that priceless line about you're a vampire, but instead of blood, you feed on hopes and dreams. So I like that line. And
how about when he says he says, how about one I haven't heard before?
Yes, and then you're a double murderer or something. I forget what he said, but
I'm not sure exactly how he put it, but yeah, it's you not only take debt, you also use the debt to take lives and stuff like that. And the guy actually goes, yeah, okay, that's a new one. How about how he actually says, since the beginning of time, people like me existed. I tell the people on that side that they can get on this side. You cannot get more 1%er than that. That's like a line from the Michael Douglas Wall Street movie. You know what I mean?
You're right. Oh my God. Yeah. So it's this crackling scene, and I think it's. I have I love this episode, but in the when we get to the end of the discussion, I do have a bit of some issues about how some storylines some plot developments happen, but we'll get to that later.
All right.
But yes, so Trigger's office was important because we don't see Sherlock observing things in the office, but of course it's Sherlock, so he's observing a load of things, what his office contains, the pictures that he sees in the office are a big breakthrough, and it'll be revealed in a few scenes later.
Yeah. So from there we go to the brownstone. Trigger actually shows that at the time he had no motive for killing Kelly Cooper.
Yeah, the DOE.
Or really either one of them, really.
But Sherlock says, his diploma is fake. So I think, there's more to this than we realize. And if he decides to threaten us, then we'll have another needle for the haystack. So, and that was said kind of off camera, but I cracked up at the way he delivered it.
So from there we get a visit from Moreland.
Ring on the doorbell means Moreland has arrived. Yes, and this is where John Noble's moment happens. That's also well done.
Oh yes, because we see here that what the whole story is, that yes, he actually believed that Sherlock and if he believed and he conveyed his suspicions to Muir, and that's why Muir. Oh, and that we also find out that the whole thing about Muir's predecessor, that we found out later he is connected, but Moreland wasn't the instigator of it, but that the reason he came to New York was because he came to a self-realization. I just thought my own son tried to kill me. Okay, maybe there is something wrong with our relationship, and he goes to New York to mend it. He felt guilty, and I think that got Sherlock's attention.
Yes, I want to get your thoughts on what is it the attempt in his life that turns Moreland around? Is he worried about Sherlock's relapse, or this attempt in his life has made him rethink, how their relationship has been in the past? What do you think is because John Noble plays it so sincerely, and because we know him from other roles where he is nothing as simple as sincerity for John Noble, so he's an excellent choice to play the dad, and I keep going back and forth whether he's just fully sincere about this then, or there's a larger agenda. I mean, what's your take on it?
Well, if he is being sincere, I think it's all these things. It's the attempt on his life. It's Sherlock's relapse. It's him thinking even for a moment that Sherlock was the one who did the attempt. Yeah. It's all these things together that made him want to reconnect with his son. Yeah. But that's the question. is he being sincere? I think he could be. I think it's looking likely that he is. Cause, we've been trading our theories back and forth. Maybe more, like, is Moreland this morally ambiguous guy that can help a village one week and blow up a building the next? So is he that type? And obviously it looks like he's not at the moment, but there's no way to really know.
So this is a very juicy, thing for us to imagine the way the season will play out, because yes, there's no real answer at this point, and all the possibilities are fascinating. So, and John Noble, I mean, wow, I felt like, wow, he's the nicest man ever. And that can't be that simple on a show like Elementary. So I'm very duly intrigued, and I can't wait and I'm excited to see how the story is going.
See, what happened was, and if the story isn't, if what he's saying is sincere, and those are his intentions, that means the writers did something pretty cool, and they use, because as we know, it's like that's many seasons, so many stories, and we didn't meet Sherlock Holmes until this season. The writers even used the ogre of Moreland to make us think he could be that monster.
Yes. So,
which, if it's not true, it's genius writing. If he's not a killer, that was genius.
Yeah, props to those writers. I mean, and the whole production team, that all that 4 years has just paid off in this mystery of what Moreland is after, is upon us. So, yes.
Now one thing is the reason Moreland believes Sherlock capable of the crime is because, one, as they said, like Sherlock said, if you truly believe that, you don't know me, and Moreland admits that, I don't know you if I actually believed you. And could it be that it's because even though Moreland's not really a killer, he would be capable of such an act, so he automatically believes Sherlock would be.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, and we got all of that basically in the monologue from John Noble. So amazing. So there's so much depth and backstory contained in what we see as such a simple scene, but quality is just amazing on the show. So
I can't wait to find out what's true. I'm on bated breath and all that.
So wait, this is episode 10, right? So we're halfway point, so it's gonna gear up very soon.
So from there we go. Sherlock, of course, he realizes something. We go to the office. I love this when they're doing the slideshow. As we see, our projections are mugshots. Like, what the heck?
Yes. And, so we're trying to now sort of like, find out, Watson's doing all the hard work basically of sorting through all the needles in that haystack, right?
So they're doing all that, and he's telling like, this is you used for this, and that I love, because I'm as some people who listen to the show might know, I am a kilt wearer myself.
Yes.
So I love how, and I love how he says it's not plaid, it's tartan. I know this is when I realized what he did. This is the thing that popped in my head. Like to paraphrase Shakespeare, tartan is the thing in which they will capture the consciousness.
Oh wow! Well, Shakespeare connection. I love it. So.
Well, it's just how I would word the line. Instead of conscious, instead of play, we'll shove in tartan. But I like how he's like, I noticed you're wearing this. You were with someone wearing this tartan, and I noticed this. It's like the weirdest clue ever, and I loved it.
You know what? And that line you mentioned about conscious, is, I guess it could treasure be the king, and there's a subliminal connection. This tartan was a deliberate choice, and of course Johnny Lee Miller's delivery of "it's tartan" was also another facet of his.
And we find out that actually that Lily Cooper, like, her caring was like it was a crime within a crime. Like, it wasn't the case; it was the fact that she found out that something was like the man, like the man who did the first murder, his student loan have just disappeared, and obviously that's suspicious.
Yes.
So that would have, and Trigger knew that would have led the police to what he's been doing.
Yeah, so hence that's exactly why it wasn't the DOE threat. It wasn't, other things, but it was this potential unraveling that got Trader to, murder extra few people. Dennis Hicks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously, through there they scooped up one of his lackeys, who of course turns on him, and they take him away. So if we end the episode with Sherlock talking to Moreland, which I think this was an interesting little twist. He said he calls his father a liar without even he wasn't even lying. I like that little jab at him. He's like, when you said you had nothing to do with the man's death, you actually weren't being true. He's like, I spoke the truth, and he was, but he's like, but actually the murder did have something to do with you. Turns out the guy was following him,
Yep.
and so he was involved in his murder, and the reason he was killed was because when Moreland started looking into it, whoever was behind it needed to clean up a loose end. And I love Sherlock's motivations. I mean, while I'm sure it's in there on some level that he's doing it because it's his father, but his main motivation is he doesn't like the affront to his character that someone made up a story about him. And I love that.
Yes. Like, this is like the worst thing is that people think this is an affront to his character. And yes, I 100% love it as well. It's stunning, and there's some humor in that line delivery, but at the same time, it's serious that, and once Sherlock is motivated, we've seen how effective he is. That was, again, the, Grand Slam number 2 for Johnny Miller in this episode. Acting stakes anyway. So, amazing.
Indeed. So we guess we'll find out. So before the final thoughts, let's do favorite lines now. My first favorite line let's see. From Moreland, and it's the first line that we hear. Could have sworn I had that statue removed.
Yes. And we don't see Johnny Lee Miller in the shot yet, so he's like, and it turns out to be his son. So yes, that's hilarious. Any other things? Okay,
the best way to come at a haystack is with a pitchfork. Basically, Sherlock saying like he's the blunt instrument to really go at stuff. But the third favorite line, and this is definitely the whole episode. Here's how you can be certain I'm not the one who tried to kill you. And the way he delivers it is like he was calling his father an idiot for even thinking it for a second. He goes, "You're alive."
You're alive. Yes, that was like
the way he says it.
That is also my number one line of the episode. We can put that in a meme, a GIF, because that is wonderful, just amazing. So those anything else?
No, those are it for the lines. And it's funny because it makes me think like, where's the conspiracy gonna go of who's trying to kill Moreland? I think someone might go, hey, maybe it's Moriarty, but we know it's not Moriarty for the same reason.
Yeah.
He would have been dead. Or there's so many different. I just keep wondering if they're gonna have like a twist that Moreland wasn't actually the target. You know what I mean?
Well,
like it was the woman.
I'm gonna keep
it's some big.
It's what?
Like a big conspiracy, like she knew something that Moreland, and they were killing, and they tried to kill Moreland too because he might know, maybe like she was the real target, and of course they think Moreland's the main one because of who Moreland is.
Yeah. Moriarty will also be 100% effective. You wouldn't be alive after a death from her. But I'm still keeping her maybe down on the list a bit, not in the high priority, because, Moriarty and Moreland are well matched, so.
God, I want to see them. I want to see Natalie Dormer and John Noble in a scene together. Maybe even, oh God, Natalie, Johnny, and John.
Yes. And let's just throw Emmys on their faces, they're so good. Okay, I have a few favorite lines. One's from Gregson, and he says, I take it you have something more specific than arrest a college. So he sold that line to me. That was funny. And the other one is, what was my favorite other line? I wrote it down. For sure when they're in the office of Gregson, and so Walter's like looking for a needle in a haystack, and Sherlock says, at least that's what Watson and Bell are doing. What are you doing? It's like, I'm gonna go do a pitchfork thing, and so that was a funny line as well. And even a simple moment like when Sherlock's in Trader's office and Trader offers him a drink, he says drink, and then you see, and because we know Sherlock's backstory, so he's in recovery, So that nice grace note of reminding Sherlock that he's still recovering from his addiction is also a lovely moment in the show. And
Yes.
And are you ready to talk other issues that I have for the show?
Oh yeah, like you said. We'll do your nitpicks and then we'll do final thoughts.
Okay, a bit of a nitpick is I didn't like. I mean, I adore the show like 99%, and the 1%er, again, the bad guy, the 1%er. The 1% distraction for me was they had a lot of like, and it recalls a bit of the BBC Sherlock a bit, where Sherlock sort of like magically appears and magically does things, like magically appearing in the private office of Trajan to the entrance. I'm sure Sherlock's capable of doing, but normally they like to show Sherlock they like to show the discipline of his brilliance all the time. So for him just to magically do that was a bit of a distraction. And having done a lot of presentation PowerPoint decks in my life, you can't just interrupt the PowerPoint presentation just by like, it's a different slide, because the presenter would see that slide coming. So that one was so it's like, that's not how decks work, PowerPoint works. So yeah, so I don't know how Sherlock got, insert his mugshot slides into that person's slideshow presentation. So that's just
he had everyone hack it.
Ooh, good one. Yes, maybe. But that's still hard.
But what did he have to do to get to the? No.
Maybe they interrupted the screen. But the way, because he asked for the remote control from the girl, means it was a closed file where that had no external connection. But that's again a total nitpick, and you don't think too much about it. So yes.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts on the episode?
The final thoughts on the episode is, I think they gave Johnny Lee Miller some scenes of gold, like in 5 instances in this episode. He saw the script and said, oh my God, they've given me, this wonderful gift. So I'm going to perform the heck out of these 5, 6 scenes. I think all throughout the episode, actually. And, from the comedic points of the honey down to the serious, you're alive, fraught with meaning. That is just a showcase for Johnny Lee Miller's capability and artistry in portraying Sherlock. So and we had all the usual elements that we love. The 1% is always guilty, and we had the multiple guest stars, and the writers are trying to give us some, foundation for how this Moreland, they've already given us a 4 season foundation, and now it's all paying off. They built such a great foundation that whatever they build on this plot line is going to be stunning and well done, and something I can't wait to see. So it's an excellent episode, worth rewatching for many, many scenes. So Alma Matters, you've done well.
Yes, I mean, the case wasn't overly complicated, although I do like the fact that someone's kilt was the final clue.
It's a shout out.
But overall, yeah. But overall, I think, like you said, the scenes between Sherlock and his father were the main focus, the main reason to watch this. I love those scenes. I could watch those again and again. So high marks for that for this episode, and it just makes me curious to see where they're gonna go with that. So I think that's it for us.
Well,
I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Thank Karen for coming in once again, and I can't wait to see where they're going. So it's time for us to depart, for the game is afoot.